When I was a couple weeks short of my 70th birthday, I started thinking about my mother's mother, who lived to be 100, and her mother, who lived to be 102, and my father, who lived to be 90, longer than anyone we had ever heard of in his family. I began to think that maybe our generation could be the first to routinely live to be 100. When I talked about this at family dinner one night, my granddaughter, who was 5, said,
"What are you going to do for the next 30 years, Grandpa?"
Hello, I'm Dr. Janet Price.
And I'm Gregg Kaloust. And we are Oldish. And this is our podcast, Oldish.
If you're oldish or know someone who is, please join us every week for conversations amongst ourselves
And our special guests
about what it means to be oldish in the 21st century.
If you ever wonder whether you're getting old, you're oldish. What are you going to do for the next 30 minutes?
Hi, I'm Greg, and I'm Oldish.
Hi, I'm Janet, and I'm Oldish. Welcome to another episode of the podcast, Oldish, Conversations on Aging in the 21st Century. We're so happy that you're joining us today. Greg, I've been thinking about what I'm thinking of as the pickleball Headgame. It's something that's been kind of bouncing around in my mind for a while. I wonder if we could talk about that for a little bit.
Sure, that sounds good, but tell me more about what you mean.
Okay. I've noticed how much of my game is influenced by where I am in my head. So if I get on the court and there's someone who I've never played with before and seems intimidating, I start to play less well. I start to play more poorly. And then as I get comfortable and realize I can return that serve and I am getting the ball back over the net, I start to relax. And now, at first when it happened, I didn't know what was going on. And then at some point, I started reminding myself, I noticed I wasn't playing very well as I usually do. And I would say, okay, so you're playing with someone new. You're feeling a little intimidated. You're going to get back to your regular play and just know that I'm going to get more comfortable and get back to my game. Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, that happens to me still. Is in one of our earlier podcasts last year about when I started traveling and going different places to play. I use the term social anxiety, I think, where, I would get someplace to play and I would be anxious about being accepted, about playing well. And it was obvious to me that I played less well when I felt that way. You tense up, you try too hard. Both of those things, as we've talked about before in the podcast about pickleball, both of those things get in the way. If you tense up, you're going to hit pop-ups. You're going to miss the ball sometimes altogether. And if you worry about how you're playing, then you're not focusing on the ball that's coming to you. You're not playing it. And so the key is always to just relax and have fun, but you don't know that. Well, I don't know that when I first start playing with someone that I don't know very well. But I've learned some over the last year and a half, or I'm coming up on 2 years now that we've been talking about this and that I've been playing in a lot of different places. I've learned a lot about how to handle that better. Some of it's just experience. I play with different people a lot, but even now, if I'm on a court where I usually play and there are people there that I'm not familiar with, or people that I am familiar with that I know might be better players than I am, or think of themselves as better players than I am, or fairly often are what we've talked about as bangers, I get anxious and I want to perform well, but then I get performance anxiety and I don't, just like in real life. So I'm very familiar with that. And I see it in other people too. I've seen people that I know play really well come up against somebody that they're anxious about for whatever reason, and they don't play as well. And I think it's probably normal to the extent that anything is normal. And it certainly is okay. It's not as much fun, though. It's not as much fun. So there are strategies around that. And we can talk about that in a bit if you want.
Absolutely. And I think it is normal in the sense of, all those things you were just talking about. And I also was thinking as you're talking that it brings the focus away from right now in the present moment. And we have done some episodes of talking about how that might be one of the pulls and enjoyment of pickleball is the opportunity to be in the moment. Whatever we just did, if we hit the ball into the net, we hit the ball out of bounds. Right now, we're thinking about where this ball is going to go and this serve and how is the ball going to be returned to me. We're just very much in the moment. And I wonder if having that new player that just looks like they're going to be so much better than me and they don't know how I play and maybe they're assuming I don't play well. We just have these head games because nobody else is saying that to me. No, they're saying, oh, watch out for that person. They're not going to like you because they're not going to like playing with someone who plays the way you do. One of the things that happens to me is if someone seems not friendly, I start out by taking it personally. And I think, oh, do they think I'm not good enough to play with them? Do they not like the way I play? Do they not want to get matched with me because they just don't seem very happy about it? And so that's the head game. Where I'm trying to find what's at fault for me. What am I bringing to this game that's underwhelming, and to be able to move through that. So talking about strategies to, some of the strategies I use in those moments are, well, everyone doesn't have to like me. It's okay if this person I'm playing with doesn't like playing with me very much. We just got matched together, and I'm going to have as much fun as I can. And be friendly and tell her when she's playing well or when I notice, giving her kudos and being friendly. And that's about all I can do.
Yeah. Something else that I use in those circumstances is an old saying that you don't know what somebody else is going through. You don't know where they're coming from. So am I, in my paranoia, interpreting their apparent dislike of me incorrect? And maybe they're just having a bad day, or maybe that's the face they have on when they play pickleball. Could be any number of things. Maybe their knee hurts. Maybe they're afraid of me. Maybe they're intimidated by me. They don't know who I am. They don't know. I could be Ben Johns. They don't know that. I'm big. And it could be that somebody says, oh, this guy's going to whack the heck out of the ball right at me. And what am I going to do? And then they don't know that I'm on the other side and I'm so anxious that I'm actually going to miss the ball, not whack it back at them. So putting yourself in somebody else's shoes while you're playing is one of the strategies that I use to handle all of this stuff. And then there's other old strategies like, one of the, everybody is afraid, not everybody, but just about everybody's afraid of public speaking. And in some ways it's the same. We get a little stage fright going. And one of the techniques that everybody recommends for the so public speaking is to imagine your audience in their underwear. I'm not recommending that you imagine the people that you're playing pickleball against or with are in their underwear, especially now this time of the year it's cold out. So I don't recommend that. Some of it's just confidence, and some of it sometimes I find like the first 3 or 4 shots I'm really tense, and then I can untense. It's a form of anxiety, I'm pretty sure. The people I talk about a lot, CJ Johnson and Tony Roy, address this question frequently in their podcast. So anybody that's listening and wants to get deeper on strategies and techniques, listen to Pickleball Therapy. You'll get a lot there. CJ Johnson talks about a breathing technique, which is kind of a mindfulness technique to handle that anxiety, which is take a deep in breath and 2 short, quick out breaths. And that I find is just calming. Tony Roig's recommendation is if you get someplace and you see some people playing really well and you don't know whether you're going to play with them or fit in with them, when they ask you your rating, tell them 4-5. I'm not 4-5.
And what is this thinking behind that? Why does he say to do that?
Well, one thing is that's totally meaningless anyway. You're just there to play a game, and it loosens things up a little bit. And even people who are 4-5s don't play well in any given game. So it gives you permission to be really good in your head, or to let people think that you're going to be really good in your head. Maybe that intimidates them. So they're like, oh my, I'm only a 4-0. And, that sort of thing. But basically, it's a way of telling yourself you're there to play a game, and you can play with anybody who's willing to play with you. And if they're not willing to play with you, that's their problem, not yours.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I got excited about is I've noticed over time some of these tendencies for me and others when something's new, when things have been shaken up a bit, when there's a new player or players, is it made me think about being oldish and what is the head game as an oldish person that we need to kind of watch out for or just notice and have strategies for managing the head game that can come along with being oldish. I thought maybe we could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So give me an example.
Well, I think as we're oldish, so much is unknown. Kind of known and is this universal. We're mortal. We see people get old and move through that final stage in their lives. So in some ways it's universal and is known, but we don't know our own trajectory and how that's going to look. And so I think that I can speak as an oldish person of that there's times when I start to get really nervous, scared, don't like the fact that I don't know of what I don't know, and that there's some fears there about possibilities of what this journey is going to look like for me. So I suddenly started putting this together and thinking the goal is, as we age, is to be able to be present and be in the moment and appreciate, like in pickleball, appreciate that I'm there standing up on the court, that my body is healthy enough to play this game, that I can enjoy my surroundings. I can enjoy the people I'm playing with. I can enjoy losing together, winning together, can enjoy building each other up in all the little ways and big ways that we do in pickleball. That was a great shot to my opponent. That was a great serve to my partner. We got this. And great point. We worked hard for that point, etc. So how does that relate, or how can that translate to the oldish journey? One thing I can say is the head game of being oldish can take us away from being in the moment. And so some of the things we just said about pickleball, head game, we want to impress, we have performance anxiety, fear of making mistakes, self-esteem issues of how do I see myself on the court? How do other people see me? Which is very much a part of comparing ourselves to others. And so thinking about that relationship to oldishness, but the want to impress. I want to impress myself, I think, that I can do this well and whatever well encompasses. So that's scary. And then the performance anxiety, like it being oldish, what is that going to look like? And knowing, unlike pickleball, where I hope I'm getting better, even though that's an arc, but I'm getting better. But with performance anxiety, that I'm losing my abilities. I don't remember things as well. I'm not as strong physically in some ways. So the anxiety about that, which is the head game, because if we don't have that head game going on, then we're in the moment. And then we're oldish people that are thankful and appreciate the moments and know that I don't know what's coming next.
Well, it always comes down to that, doesn't it? Is that we don't, other than just generally, we don't know what's coming next. If we're standing on the baseline waiting for a serve, we don't know if it's going to be a hard serve or a short serve or a serve with spin on it until we played with the people that we're talking about for several serves. We don't know what their tendencies are. We don't know how they're going to play. We don't know what their attitude toward the game is. We don't know if they are going to laugh with us when we screw up or whether they're going to be exasperated when we screw up. And we know we're going to screw up. One of the clues that I get from people is we're talking about a couple episodes ago, we're talking about negative self-talk. And I can tell a lot about how my opponent's going to do by listening to them, to their self-talk. Because a lot of people do it out loud. It's they hit the ball into the net and they complain about them hitting the ball into the net. That tells me a lot about what their attitude is toward the game and how we're going to play it. So an approach to all of this is if we can go into any circumstance, including playing a game, that's literally a game, not just metaphorically a game, with an open heart and a joy in the fact that we're here to play it all, and a joy in the shared humanity with the people that we're playing with, whether we think that they are treating us with kindness or not, whether we're treating ourselves with kindness or not. If we can just go into every moment as we do into that scary pickleball moment with that open heart and the joy in being there, I think that's a good lesson to take away and a good practice. If we can practice that, then we're going to get better at it. And maybe that's where we are in the oldishness. I've been working on that for 73 years now, but going into circumstances with joy and not with trepidation, with kindness and not with, when I was younger, I was very sarcastic and, as a defense mechanism. So going in, not with a defense mechanism, but with a paddle and a knowledge that what we're doing metaphorically in real life is very similar to what we're doing on a pickleball court, which is we're really doing something silly when you get down to it. Pickleball is very silly. It's you're hitting a wiffle ball with a plastic stick, and much of what we do in life is also in the bigger picture silly like that, but it's all a metaphor for opportunities for kindness. I think that's really all that life is opportunities for kindness. And if you take advantage of those opportunities of kindness and offer genuine kindness in all of those opportunities, then pretty soon the points are going to add up and you get to win.
It's a win-win, even when you lose the game.
Even when you lose the game, because it's just that one game.
So we're just about out of time for today, but I wanted to reiterate some of the beautiful things you just said and wise words and how they relate to being oldish. So being fully in the game. So I think about this from this perspective of being oldish, just being fully in this game. This is where I am right now. I know in general where I'm headed and I want to be fully in it, not complaining about it, not wishing it was different, but just being fully in it and being thankful that we can be fully in it, that we're still alive. There's a lot of people that don't make it to 70. The next point you talked about was negative self-talk and relating that to a former episode. And I was thinking negative self-talk equals head game. Because our head games are our negative self-talk. What if I don't play well enough? What if I'm not as good as these others? And then it comes to pass in the moment in pickleball. But then we pull ourselves together, which is the goal, that we're going to have some of these thoughts and just to be able to pull ourselves back to our goals of having an open heart what are the goals for pickleball, or what are the goals for life? What are the goals for being oldish? Have an open heart. That no matter what's happening to us physically, have an open heart. Have a joy of shared humanity, treating ourselves and others with kindness. That's it. That's the blueprint for being oldish. And it just makes me think of something I haven't thought about in a long time. When my mother was dying, probably 40 years ago or more, and she was in the hospital. She had cancer, and we all knew she wasn't going to leave the hospital. She was going to die within a month. And she was so kind to everyone who worked with her, all the nurses and nursing assistants and doctors. It was a very fascinating experience to watch. And when she did die, so many of those people, those hospital employees, told me personally what it had meant for them to work with my mom at this end of her life. So that's a wonderful role model for me, and around treating ourselves and others with kindness. That's it as we're aging.
Well, that's a good message to end on.
Yeah, it's just fun to talk about. I'm going to
Yeah.
be thinking about this when I'm out there in the pickleball court, and I'm going to be thinking about this just as I travel through this oldishness.
Yes. Yeah, it's always good to have opportunities to practice kindness and to remember to practice kindness. And it doesn't mean to everybody else. It means start with yourself. I think be kind to yourself, get you through that head game. I'm okay. I'm just playing a game here. And nobody is so good at the game of life that they get out of it with pure victory.
Unless it depends how you define the word victory.
Yeah, I suppose. Yes. But everybody misses shots. No one has gotten through life without missing a shot. Nobody.
Yes.
So if we can be kind toward the missing of the shot, then we're good.
And we're going to miss shots in our oldishness. There are going to be times when we feel discouraged and have negative self-talk. So then just to realize, oh, wait a minute, this isn't how I want to be experiencing this moment. Or I'm not experiencing this moment because I'm caught up in this head game. So I bring myself back to this moment.
Well, as usual, Janet, it's been great fun talking with you and seeing what happens with our conversations. That's one of the things that I love about conversations is somebody asked me about interviewing that, they say when you interview your guests, and I don't feel like we do, and I don't want to, because if you're doing an interview, it sounds like you've got a series of questions that you want the answers to. But a conversation, you might start off with something that you think you're going to talk about, but a real conversation is going to wander quite a bit. And I really like where we get to a lot of times, where we wander around, and half the time I don't know what I'm thinking until we start talking about it. And so I discover, I think this is the case for every single one of these conversations that we've had, is I've discovered something along the way that I didn't expect to.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's always a treat talking with you and with our guests. And so thanks.
Thank you. Looking forward to the next one.
Me too.
That's it for now. Thanks for listening. We really enjoyed this conversation and hope you did too. You can find links to purchase all the pickleball gear and books we recommend at the C.J. Johnson and Tony Roig's Better Pickleball in the show notes and on our website at www.oldish.me. It's not too late to order something for Christmas. Turn us on next time for our conversation with ageless sexuality expert Joan Price. Please note, if frank discussion of sex, especially positive comments about older people who still love sex, offends you, you might want to skip this one.